Hey, Warrior Saints, good morning. Happy Monday. Welcome to our Crucifixional Life stream. Glad to have you lovely, beautiful people with us today. We are having a blast. Remember, as always, visit warriorsaints.org. We are growing like leaps and bounds, and we want the movement to continue. We want you to be a part of that movement. We have just a ton of teaching to help males become men. So if you're a fella wanting to get the best out of yourself, or maybe you're a lady who's fella needs a little bit of work, warriorsaints.org. I'll talk about it more at the end. However, we want to begin this week's discussion with a scandal from the sports world. There is a man named Robert Sarver who owns the Phoenix Suns, where I live. Now, I don't know Mr. Sarver personally. I've never met him. But the scandal is that in his organization, in the Suns organization that he's owned for 17 years, he has recently been accused of racism and misogynistic language and use. So in other words, he said the N-word to somebody supposedly, and he is, rotten to women. Those are the accusations. Now, of course, he has vehemently denied it. A group of people have come forward and made the accusations, and some other people in the organization have said this isn't the man we know. So there's all the scandal, and now the NBA is going to do an investigation. To what end, I don't know. At the time of filming this, the investigation hasn't commenced, let alone completed, and yet the man has been branded as a racist and or a misogynist. Now, like I said, I don't know him. What he is or who he is, I don't know. That's not my point today. It is that the use of those words has now branded this man, whether he's innocent or guilty, as a racist and a misogynist. It can't be taken away. There's that old saying, you can't unring a bell. It's like if someone cries, cries wolf, it's done. It's out there, and that mark will be there eternally, right? Like, this is the problem. Now, if he did terrible things, the authorities will take care of it. I understand that. What I'm interested in for you and I as Warrior Saints is the instant knee-jerk reaction to jump to conclusions and to brand people with names. And we do that all the time. I mean, if you think about the world in which we live, there's a name or a title for everyone, right? And many of the negative ones we're looking at today, but we call people whatever, like today, racist, misogynist, homophobe. Men have been called chauvinist pigs. We label people as things, and without actually fully knowing all the stories and without knowing all the details, we assume, and then that is sedimented in our minds, right? So, let's go back to Robert Sarver. He has denied whatever they've accused him of. Now, let's stretch, because again, I don't know the man, but let's just say that he is innocent. Now, he's branded as someone who hates other people, right? I mean, it's possible that he does, but we don't know that. None of us watching are members of the Suns organization. Maybe there are some, but my point being, we don't know these things, and we've jumped to a conclusion. As Warrior Saints, we do not do that. It doesn't mean that we allow or permit wickedness or evil. Certainly not. It doesn't mean that we look the other way when things are wrong, but it does mean that we wait with some savvy to recognize all of the story before we jump to conclusions. The problem is, and this is one of the things that blocks us from that, is that the reactive cancel culture in which we find ourselves immersed is when they hear it, it's immediate, right? And we all jump on that wagon, one side or the other usually, and we commit to a conclusion about someone. This is not a discerning man. This is not a discerning mind. We're going to talk about discernment on Wednesday, but it's for us as Warrior Saints to pause before we make any statements. We are trying to be like chivalrous knights. That's one of the 4 pillars of a warrior saint, is to be a knight and have that chivalry and that diplomacy to recognize, all right, let me just check it out before I jump into the conclusions. What that does is it sets your mind free, which is what we're going to talk about on Friday, but it also says that you are going to be respectful enough to think for yourself and not be led on a shoestring by whatever media you consume. This is a powerful thing that we have to keep in mind when we talk about being a knight, or even another pillar, being a mentor, seeking wisdom. We have to be slow to our decisions, and then when we decide, boom, then we're decisive and pull the trigger. But when the media says, bah, you don't jump. That's the key. Now, to help us do that, we have a full program at warriorsaints.org, and we call that, as I started this episode with, The Way of the Warrior Saint. It is our flagship offering. It's a library just loaded with teachings and guidance to help us as we are seeking to overcome these types of challenges we face. I want to share with you something pretty cool. I mean, this program, the Way of the Warrior Saint, since COVID started, I mean, it existed before, but since it started, COVID in 2020, it's exploded because people are hungry and craving this God-centeredness, that we hope to share with you, this God mindfulness, because it's the only antidote for the crisis of masculinity, the crisis of sin that we see in the world, and in today's case, this overreaction, jumping to conclusions without all the details. All of that being said, I beseech thee, visit us at warriorsaints.org, join the Way of the Warrior Saint. Let's do it. It's time. Get on the way. Love you, beautiful people. We'll be back tomorrow, talk more about this. Until then, keep walking on the way of the Warrior Saint.